Hey everyone, welcome back to another stimulus update. This is your second stimulus check update. The latest is that Mitch McConnell, who is the leader of the Senate, has come out and definitely said, again, we are going to have a second stimulus. And stay to the end of the video, because if you are on Obamacare or any of the marketplace programs like that, something's going to be changed about your premiums. Hey everyone, welcome back to another stimulus update. I'm Logan.
I'm Adine.
And Adine, we had Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, come out again and say what?
He effectively came out and said that more than likely that Congress is going to have to pass another stimulus package at some point here.
So, unfortunately, this is nothing new. We've heard Mitch McConnell come out and say this. We've heard President Trump come out and say this. Pretty much both sides and anybody who's anybody has come out and said, we are going to need to pass this. But I guess, Adine, right now the Senate is currently on recess. It's not like they're sitting there twiddling their fingers with nothing to do. They're probably still working on behind the scenes, but they need to come together with some sort of agreement with the Democrats that control the House to figure out what is going to be that second round. So, Adine, just give us kind of a breakdown on what the Democrats want versus what the Republicans want for the round two that everybody is now saying will definitely most likely need to happen.
Yeah, so that's, I think, the frustrating part for everybody involved, for us, for our viewers, for everybody at home, is that we keep getting words out of Washington, all these high-powered, high-ranking people, but no action behind it. And while it's all in the positive light that they're coming out and saying, yeah, we want to pass another bill, we need to pass another bill, we will pass another bill, they're still not doing it. And it seems like there is 2 to 3 key topics that are holding them up from kind of getting to the table and moving forward with this. Number one, from the HEROES Act, which is the one that Nancy Pelosi in the House passed a couple weeks ago, is the aid to state and local governments. Republicans are vehemently opposed to this, although now we have Mitch McConnell, who came out and said that he is warming up and okay with some help, but not the full $1 trillion that the House passed. And again, this is mainly aid to the states and local governments to continue to implement various social programs, unemployment, and so forth. And so the Republicans are just philosophically against that.
Okay, so just so I had this clear, so this is more so that they don't, it's not like they want to control how much debt we have. It's more so because Republicans are more along the lines of less government, you figure it out for yourself. So is that kind of their standpoint on why they don't want $1 trillion going towards state and local governments?
It's much more deeper than that. I mean, that's a part of it in terms of, separation between the states and the federal government. What they're really afraid of is that this money is going to go to what they consider socialist programs. I could list a number of them. I don't think it's going to add any value here, but Republicans just don't want to give money to the states, who then turn around and basically create welfare programs, give out money, because they believe that, the Republicans believe that that doesn't serve the greater purpose of a free economy, and doesn't help in terms of entrepreneurship, capitalism, and so forth.
I got you. Okay, cool. So,
yeah, and so that's one big sticking point, because in the HEROES Act, that's a third of the whole package. And so Republicans are opposed to that. The second piece that's a big sticking point is the $600 pandemic unemployment assistance, which is the additional $600 a week that everybody is getting. And as a result of that, what we're seeing is two things. One, Republicans are always going to throw out dollar amounts. It's a lot of money that's going to people. The second piece that it's causing is we're seeing some issues with reopening. So the Republicans want to reopen the economy, have businesses go back to normal, have the consumers go back to normal. And where it's creating friction is that we have a lot of employees who don't want to go back to work because they're making regular unemployment plus $600 a week. And in so many cases, I think we talked about this, about 60 to 70% of those on unemployment are currently making more money collecting unemployment than they did working 40 hours a week at their jobs.
So that is an interesting statistic right there, because that's kind of what we talked about with Senator Portman, from Ohio, who effectively came out and said, look, don't extend unemployment, which is what the Republicans have been saying all along. So when it ends on July 31, it sounds like they're just going to stop cold turkey, right? No phasing it out where it goes from 600 down to 5, down to 4, or even like 6 down to maybe even 3. They just want this thing to completely stop July 31. And Senator Portman saying, fine, he's a Republican, by the way, but we should pay people an extra $450 per week that are back at work. So you're still getting extra assistance, especially if you're back at work in a job that is being affected big time. Like anything in the consumption industry, they need help there. So they're actually putting forth $450 a week. But the sticking point is that unemployment, which actually, Dean, brings up a pretty interesting point we talked about before we started recording, which was, hit us.
Good old health insurance premiums, and more specifically, premium tax credits.
So how does that work? How does this unemployment affect all of that?
Yeah, so just for greater background, when I say premium tax credits, I'm referring to what some call the Obamacare Exchange Affordable Care Act, when Obama was president, and when they basically created a means-tested way of setting premiums. And what happened is every year when you go to apply, you effectively estimated what your income was going to be the next year. And based off of that estimate and how many people you have in your household, you had your regular premiums, and then the government subsidized those premiums through what's called a premium tax credit. And then at the end of the year, when you do your tax return, you essentially reconcile what you estimated your income to be and what your actual income was. And then on your tax return, you effectively either got an additional credit or you had to pay back some of this premium tax credit, again, to kind of get you to be even based on your actual income and actual number of people in your household.
So now what's happening with maybe the people that are, the 60 to 70% of people that are on unemployment right now that are making more money on unemployment than they were at their jobs. Let's say they're on, Obamacare and they're part of the Affordable Care Act. Like, what happens with that?
Yeah, so this brings up an interesting point that many people have not even considered so far. But essentially, if you're now making more, and in some cases making double what you made before in terms of your unemployment, when you do your tax return at the end of the year, your income's going to be higher, which effectively means that, one, you're going to have to pay tax on this higher income, and it could possibly push you into a higher tax bracket. But two, when you reconcile your premium tax credits, you might get an ugly surprise, and it might turn out that you owe a good chunk of your tax credits for health insurance back to the government.
So so what we're saying, just so I have it clear, is that this is not like moving forward for next year when you estimate what you're going to make. They're going to say, well, in 2020, you made X amount, so you have to declare this 2021 is going to be more. What they're saying is that at the end of the year, when you actually, I guess, come back and say, this is how much I actually made, then you have to, give some of it back because you made a lot more than you said you were. Am I off on that?
No, that's exactly it. So when you go to file your 2020 tax return in the spring of 2021, that's when you're going to do this reconciliation. And if it turns out that your income is higher than when you estimated on your application, chances are you're going to have to pay back some of those tax credits. Now, one thing you can do proactively is you can go back into your application. So you can go back to healthcare.gov, pull up your application for this year, and adjust your income and adjust your tax credits. Obviously, you got to make that decision of cash flow, right? So if you make that adjustment, that means now you have to pay higher premiums while we're still uncertain what the world's going to look like.
because at the end of the day, like it's the government, they're going to get their money one way or another. So it almost seems like either do it on the front end and declare it now, or if you don't want to do that and you want to wait until the end of the year, either way, they're going to know.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, at some point they might come out with some sort of amendment or a retroactive bill at the end of the year if they realize that the unemployment piece is going to kick people up into a different tax bracket and affect their tax credits. We could easily see some sort of bill address this issue and say that unemployment insurance is not going to count towards your income for premium tax credit purposes. Now, I haven't seen or heard anybody talk about that, so that's a long shot. But I think as we get closer to the end of the year and start going into next tax season, I think it's a bigger reality.
Interesting. So to recap everything, as always, is Mitch McConnell came back out and said there will most likely be a second round stimulus coming out. It's nothing new. The president has said it. Pretty much everybody has said it. It's just now a matter of fact of when that is going to happen. And currently the Senate is on recess. So definitely nothing's going to happen anytime soon. They really think it's going to be closer to the end of June. And then on the flip side of that is if you're currently collecting unemployment and you're making more money than you would normally make, which sounds like 60 to 70% of those that are on unemployment are in that boat, and you're actually using healthcare that is government assisted, then you'll end up probably having to pay a lot more money at the end of the year. So be aware of that. And as always, make sure you stay subscribed to this channel because we want to bring the latest and greatest to you, but also talk about some of the topics that are not commonly out there, which is exactly what we're talking about with the healthcare. So thank you very much. Have an awesome day, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Take care.